Hey everyone, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today I want to talk about Facebook because Facebook is going to block new political advertising the week before Election Day, and this is fascinating coming from multiple sources, but I'm going to be cribbing primarily from the Washington Post here, which I think did some excellent reporting on this. Now, full disclosure, I actually, if this got updated, I recorded this on Friday, even though you're seeing it here on Monday. My shirt has been the same through the last few days because I've got a really important work thing that I need to get done, and I just didn't have the time to do it. So here we are. So if there's beyond updates on this, I'll let you know, but this is fascinating and very interesting. Now, Facebook plans to block new advertising the week before the presidential election. This is the first time the company has taken action to limit political advertising in the United States, and they said this past Thursday, like 4 or 5 days ago. The company also said that it would label posts by any candidate or campaign that tried to declare victory before the final results are in on the 2020 election, or directing people, or basically they're going to direct people to the official results that are being tabulated by Reuters. It will do the same for any post that tried to delegitimize the outcome of the election. For example, a claim that voting by mail could lead to fraud. That has been something that has been very much in the news these days, with President Trump saying that this may be a very serious issue. It has also started to limit users' abilities to forward articles on its Messenger platform to large groups of people. So basically, you can't privately DM on Messenger, something that they consider, let's say, demonstrably false or incendiary or straight up fraud. Now, Mark Zuckerberg himself said on Thursday, and I quote, "The U.S. elections are just 2 months away, and with COVID-19 affecting communities across the country, I'm concerned about the challenges people could face when voting. I'm also worried that with our nation so divided and election results potentially taking days or even weeks to be finalized, there could be an increased risk of civil unrest across the country. This election is not going to be business as usual. We all have a responsibility to protect our democracy." And I will get to that statement because I think that's really interesting. The intense political stakes for the company were immediately underscored Thursday morning as the Trump campaign, or the re-election campaign, I should say, blasted the company for its new policies. Samantha Zager, who is the campaign's deputy national press secretary, said, and I quote, "In the last 7 days of the most important election in our history, President Trump will be banned from defending himself on the largest platform in America. When millions of voters will be making their decisions, the president will be silenced by the Silicon Valley mafia, who will at the same time allow corporate media to run their biased ads to swing voters in key states." Now, the move announced this past Thursday, as I said about 5 days ago, by Facebook does not ban the president. This is an important note. It does not ban the president, who has almost 31 million followers on Facebook, from defending himself, but rather just limit new ads by all and any politicians in the final days before November 3rd. So they are not basically taking his mobile phone away from him or his ability to post on Facebook whatever he wants to post. No politician is having that ability removed, but if the campaign is going to start, let's say, releasing ads, whether it's the Trump campaign or the Biden campaign, that are, let's say, negative or incendiary or whatever they are, this is what Facebook is specifically doing and they're talking about. Now, there was no immediate comment from the campaign for Vice President Joe Biden, his election campaign. Democratic campaign committees, however, actually joined Republicans in objecting to these changes, though for different reasons. Now, I think this is actually really interesting here because a lot of studies have said that we are not going to know the results of the 2020 election the day of the election. We are used to having overwhelmingly people show up at the polls, vote in person. Those are becoming automatically tabulated, whether it's an electronic voting machine, which I'm not a fan of, or paper ballots, all these kinds of things. But we get our results, and we have historically for the last 20 or 30 years or so gotten them almost the same day or maybe the next day. But we are looking at a shift in the electorate that is going to be basically mailing ballots in, which means that they are going to be counted and tabulated, and it's going to take much longer than, let's say, that 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. window where we are going to be voting in person for those of us that are on election day. Other studies have shown right now that more of left-leaning, more Democratic, more Joe Biden supporters are going to be voting via mail-in versus President Trump supporters who basically are planning on showing up at the polls. So what we're going to have is a lopsidedness, and some people are predicting or warning, meaning media researchers and election researchers, that it may look like at the end of that day, at the end of election day, that President Trump is in the lead, but when all the votes are totaled, let's say over the past the few days afterwards, or the week, or whatever it takes, we may actually see that shift and swing towards Biden. That it does not make it invalid, that does not make it fraud. Most elections going back through the United States history has taken quite some time, as people in let's say my state in Illinois voted for Abraham Lincoln. All of that had to be ferried back by railroad, and tabulated, and then we knew a week or two later that Abraham Lincoln was the president, defeating Douglas, that kind of thing. And so we have to brace ourselves for this. And I think Facebook is attempting to do something along those lines by saying, we don't want to have any negative political ads. That I think is a separate issue. But as soon as the election hits, and we are still in the middle of voting, once that final vote has been declared, and Reuters, who I think is a rather nonpartisan organization similar to the Associated Press in that way, once they say this is what the vote looks like, then I think we're going to see what happens. But in the meantime, I think we're going to see a lot of partisan bickering on that, and it's something that we as Americans have to brace for this. And if you are not an American and you are watching this, I think this is going to be a pretty interesting election, and we'll see where this goes. And we are obviously hoping, as we always hope, and we've we've always had it, and so we're hoping for a peaceful transition of power this time as well. So here you are. That is your news. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I know this one's a bit incendiary, but as you know, if you've been watching or listening to me, I don't take sides in politics here. I believe my job in cybersecurity is agnostic to politics. We all need it. So whoever you're voting for, I'd love to hear from you. Just please, please, please be civil. That's all I ever ask. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, everyone.